to know about the workings of the world, the innermost workings of the world, and how I perceive nature. And in the last several years during my PhD, on the side, I have always studied nature, the reality of nature, and I have studied all the world's major religions. And the reason I have been doing it, because I am deeply troubled and have been deeply troubled by seeing the news that we see every day. And we are very fortunate here in Fiji that we do not get that type of news where you have people killing each other. There's so much of hatred and so much of anger in the world. And I wish that from my writings, from my discussions, I could contribute in some way. And one of the main methodologies of dissemination of information in the ancient days was poetry. And it was through poetry that some of the world's greatest faiths were formed. If you look at the ancient Buddhist texts, the ancient Jain, Hindu texts, you will see that there are massive volumes of poetry trying to describe the nature of reality, the nature of consciousness, the inward journey of finding ourselves. In this world, we think that we are deeply troubled because we do not know who we are. We do not know what we are doing. And at present, the education system that is deeply driven by the industry to fulfill materialist consumer needs, that education system lacks that feature to actually teach humans how to become humans, how to behave like human beings. And with those thoughts, I have tried to write what I feel and how we can begin on a journey where we could understand. First of all, there are two challenges in my life. One of them is to amalgamate the major religious thoughts into a single spiritual movement which is apolitical. And the other is to bring science and spirituality together into one common ground. And you will see that the poems here, the writings here are talking about these themes. To go on to another level, the other writings are also about the most important gift from God to us, and that gift is something that we have forgotten, and that gift is love. And in the name of love and in the name of God, we have been doing a lot of harm to the world. So there are poems and essays that just talk about love, relationships, and love is love that defines a human being, and the essence that makes one truly human. So these are the simple subjects that are there, and there are some complex issues also discussed. But this book lays the foundation of a journey that will come in the next few decades, and I hope to follow the paths of some of the great poets who have inspired me. For example, Rumi, Khalil Gibran, and also Dalai Lama, whose writings have also been very motivating, Mahatma Gandhi, and also the older sages such as Patanjali, who wrote the Yoga Sutras, Pythagoras, Plato, and the Buddhist writers and the philosophers such as Buddha. I hope that you enjoy my book, and it will be a blessing if you tell me how you feel about it. And I am sure that there you will find at least one line in the book that may relate to you. And I hope that it is that you take the book and read, and as our Honorable Minister said, that he hopes that this book is going to be freely available in the future. And as you know, that the focus of the writing is spirituality, and spirituality is something that cannot be bought or sold. But the book will be sold just to bear the printing costs. However, this book is one of the first books published in this country which has a Creative Commons license. That means you have the right to download the free copy of the book, and that link is given in the book from our Software Foundation website. And you have the right to share, but you do not have the right to sell it. So I hope that you make the most to download the book and read it through your phones, browse it, try to discuss some of the matters that are there that are affecting us in terms of getting to know each other better, the misunderstandings in between us, not the misunderstandings that are there in different religions, but even within religions there are misunderstandings, and even in atheist groups there are misunderstandings. So their only way ahead for us as human beings is to grasp knowledge, and this knowledge that we talk about that is actually needed is not actually taught in the university system. The knowledge that we are given in the university system is merely for you to survive, for you to get a job, for you to get promoted. The degrees and the education system is, there has been knowledge that is there for you to understand life, to understand the true nature of reality, to understand your purpose in the universe, and that knowledge is spiritual knowledge. And slowly, I hope that in the next century, this is not going to be happening so soon, but in the next coming centuries, this book will motivate more writings by more authors, so that there are discussions about the amalgamation, the coming together of science and spirituality, which is apolitical and there to actually enlighten mankind and take us away from the darkness. Thank you. Namaste.
Thank you, Dr. Chandra. I'd just like to add a bit more about him, since he's a very humble guy. He will never tell you about what he has done, what his journey was about all this while. So he asked me not to say all this, but I'm going to say it nevertheless. Dr. Chandra is a computer scientist by profession, whose research focus is in the areas of artificial intelligence, robotics and medical informatics. He is a lecturer in computer science at the School of Computing, Information and Mathematical Sciences at the University of the South Pacific. He has published 45 referred scientific papers from his research in leading journals and conferences, proceedings that are published mostly by Elsevier, Springer and IEEE. So those of you who are into technology, I'm pretty sure you already know what IEEE is about and how difficult it is to actually get into those journals. And trust me, he's someone, I don't know, he will get up and work till 2 a.m. Sometimes I'll get emails at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., no, I'm not complaining. I get emails at that hour because that is how we work. So he's someone who's very dedicated. He was one of the one of the youngest PhD holders in Fiji. He did his PhD from Victoria University of Wellington, graduated in 2012. His Master of Science from University of Fiji in 2008, BSc from USP 2006, and he's also the founder and the president of Software Foundation, which is a non-profit organization that promotes software and technology in Fiji. He's the director of Artificial Intelligence and Cybernetics Research Group of Software Foundation. And like I had said earlier, that this research group, which we fondly call ICAC, does most of the research that is applicable to today's world and that will benefit the normal people at grassroots level, and basically to help our people at large. Dr. Chandra has keen interest in comparative religion, literature and spirituality. He has been studying ancient Indian poetry, philosophy which had been the motivating factors behind the themes of his work in literature. He has published an earlier poetry book called A Hot Pot of Roasted Poems in 2007. He's also been the editor of Blue Folk Journal that has been promoting art and literature from the South Pacific. He has edited 2 major poetry collections, which was called Namaste Fiji, an international anthology of poetry, and collection of contemporary love poems. The poems and writings in Being at Home has been written mostly in Nosori, but some earlier work was also included, which were written when the author was in Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus in 2008 and studying in Wellington from 2009 to 2011. And he's also started to work on another poetry book. I seriously don't know how this man finds all the time, but his next poetry book is another essay and poetry collection called The Colorful Silence of Your Being, which has been planned to be released in 2015, so later in this year. He lives in Manoda, Nosori, and that's where he does most of his writings from. And if you do read any of his poems, you'll also see there's a lot on love, especially platonic love, which very few people talk about. And I'm pretty sure you already know who the inspiration is behind that, right? So about life philosophy, even about love, of course, there's late Mr. Chandra, his family, and his mom. But there's also a very special lady, Mrs. Rohitash Chandra, who has been an inspiration on all his romantic writings.